Hi, welcome back. This is Sandra with Life Over 60. I was taking some errands the other day in the car and I was stopped at a stoplight. And I happened to notice a young woman. She was carrying under one arm an enameled headboard and under the other arm an enameled footboard. And she was really struggling because it looked like it was heavy. She stopped and she adjusted and put one on top of her shoulder and one on top of the other shoulder to keep it from dragging along the sidewalk. And I watched her struggle along. And I thought to myself, women really do sometimes have a very hard life. And they're not really rewarded for all the work that they do. They take on men's jobs, they take on mothering jobs, jobs as being a wonderful wife. So they're always carrying different roles in their lives. I remember my grandmother when I was a little girl. I would visit Grandpa and her on the farm, and she had 10 children. And my mother told me that she not only cooked for all of those 10 children, but she cooked from scratch for the farm hands. She made all of the clothes for her 10 children. She hoed in the garden, she planted the garden, she took care of the chickens, and she fed the chickens and got warm eggs in the morning for her family and the farm hands. She died when she was in her late 50s. Is it no wonder? Women have always assumed a lot of heavy roles, including you, I'm sure, and including me. I don't know whether you know too much about me, but if you've read some of my books, you will know that Behind the Magic Mirror, I tell the story of my life with my husband who suffered from schizophrenia. In 1980, I was a young woman in her late 30s. I had 3 children. And with one phone call, my entire life changed. My husband had been killed. And I was left at that age to raise 3 young children by myself. I had a healthy career. I was an anchor person. But there's no way that I could keep up with my job when I had 3 children at home who just lost their father and now would lose me all day long and sometimes night by working in television. So I gave up my job and I decided to take something in the private sector so that I could be a mother and raise my children and not let them feel that they were alone. But I know many times, because my family, my mother and my father, lived over 500 miles away and they were elderly, so they couldn't always come to help me with the children. So I can remember those days of struggling with my children, of wondering whether or not I was going to have enough money to go around to pay all the bills, to buy their school clothes, and to try to give them some of the needs that they wanted, just like the other children. I really worked hard, but I learned how to fix toasters, put in screens, and I learned a lot of things that the man in the house usually does, because I had no one but myself. One of the great things that did happen, though, because of that unfortunate happening in my life, is that it brought all of us very closer together. I've always tried to look at positive things when something negative seems to happen in my life and I can't understand why. But because my children had to assume later on in life doing their laundry, having paper routes, and working in jobs so that they could have extra money while I worked and paid for everything else. The positive, as I said before, is the fact that they are hard-working children. They are all successful because they knew they had to work hard to get where they wanted to be. So I'm grateful that perhaps that's the positive that I can take away from it, is that we all are strong people. My children are very strong and independent. They make their own decisions. And whatever small crises have happened in their lives, they're able to weather through it because they had a strong background of learning what it is to lose something and learning what it is to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps and to carry on. I've always said that where you are today doesn't have to be your final destination. And I really believe that. Because now I look back and every morning I try to give at least 10 minutes of gratitude for everything that I now have in my life. I've worked hard, but I've also had very many blessings. I have a wonderful husband now who I can share my life with. And my children are all successful and happy. I think I'm in pretty good health. I hope so. And I am well beyond 60. I'm 78, just 2 years away from 80. So I believe that if you start your day thinking about all the wonderful things that you have in your life, because all of us, I'm sure, have had negative things that have happened to us. We can't understand why. But if we can just search and find every morning something to be grateful for in that chaos, in that negativity, you will wind up to come out of it with the light at the end of the tunnel, be stronger and better, and look forward to things maybe that you never would have been able to achieve before. Now, if you're watching this and you are over 60, I think you know what I'm talking about. Life has a lot of hills and valleys, and if we can just get out of those valleys and climb the hills by seeing the positive aspects of whatever is going around us now, even though it seems like chaos, there surely will always be something that you can look and be grateful for. I've always tried to see the sunny side of life, and I think that has helped me survive. I'm going to put a link below here to Tony Robbins. I think he's a great inspiration. He is a great motivator. Sometimes they call him a guru. But he does kind of get through all the garbage that we have to go through in life and let us shine through and see something good that's coming out of whatever is going along with us today. Whether it's a loss of a spouse, perhaps it's problems with your children, maybe financial problems. There are always ways that when you think positive and you persevere, the sunshine always comes through. It never fails. So please remember that where you are today, it's not always your final destination if you're feeling pain, because there is a way out. And if you live your life in gratitude, it will happen. Thanks for joining me today. I really love all of you for coming and joining our chats, and I hope to see you again next week. Have a great, great week, and I'll see you again.